Thank you for joining us today on the Sisterhood Leadership Podcast with Dianne Wilson, recorded live from Orange County, California. If you'd like to subscribe, click on the link below, diannewilson.com, and we'll see you next week.
Hi, I'm Dianne Wilson. Welcome to our brand new Sisterhood Leadership Podcast. We've been meeting as a sisterhood for over 10 years, and recently we were talking amongst ourselves as leaders on what we could do in this very different season and very different era in the life of our church. 10 years ago, most of the women in our sisterhood were either not married yet, no kids, or they had grown kids and time. So we were able to meet every Friday morning. Well, recently I was looking at how many people were able to come on a Friday morning and how many weren't. And it just seemed like crazy for us to not make some changes so that we could reach more women and help more women develop in their leadership. So we're excited about this new leadership podcast, including different leaders every single week. We're having a conversation. There's going to be questions asked and answered. And my heart is to make everything practical, because leadership has got to apply to our real life, not just in theory. And so thanks for joining us. And we really hope that you enjoy this month as we focus on, of course, our Bible, which we love. We call it the Bible Book Club. And Bible in a year is amazing. This is my 17th year around the block. And of course, this month we're focusing on one of my resources, It's Time, and this is a leadership book. So thanks again for being with us and hope you enjoy. Welcome to our Sisterhood Leadership Podcast. I'm thrilled to have someone great in our midst today. This is Daniel Patterson.
Hi, everyone.
And Daniel, tell us a little bit about yourself and how we even know each other.
Oh, wow, that's a big question. We know each other from when I taught the twins in 7th grade.
That would be my twins.
Not my twins. But when they first moved from Australia to California, I was their English teacher. So that's how we originally know each other. And then I worked as an English teacher and assistant principal for 14 years, if you can imagine that, and retired. I like to call it retired. In 2016, and now I work as sort of a teen life coach and an author and advocate in the community and around the country.
Snatch that. All right, so we have our first book here. Really excited about this. This is The Assertive Parent, and we can get this where?
On Amazon, Barnes & Noble.
Mm-hmm. I suggest you get this because I've known Daniel now for 12 years this summer, and he has taught our kids and is an amazing person. Interesting that Bo, who is my not a special child, that's an awful thing to say. Bo, who is a little bit different. I feel like Ben and Bella are twins. I feel like Bo and London are twins, but whatever, 4 kids. But he always said that Mr. Patterson was his favourite teacher. Now, how is that? Because your job is not to be liked.
No. It's not to be liked. But I think it's to be able to see kids for who they are, right? And I do talk about this. There's a section in this book about fearing kids, which is something that I went through when I first became a teacher, wanting kids to like me, wanting them to look up to me and think I'm funny, and and those things did happen once I stopped worrying about those things, right? And I was just me.
Gotcha. Well, I love that you were able to crack the code on Bocara, because that proves that you're good at what you do. There's a gift there, and I know that when you had mentioned to me a couple of years ago about changing your role from actually working in a public school here locally, that don't leave. But it was actually the best decision, because you're able to help more people now because you're not tied up in bureaucracy or anyone else's agenda.
Right. I think it was definitely the most fearful thing I did, leaving something I had done since I was 22. All the structure. I mean, it's that structure, although it's frustrating, is very soothing, right, in a certain sense. So when I made the decision to pursue something else, it was the hardest thing I've ever done. And I miss the kids in that way, but now what I do, just being able to choose the projects I want to work on and the voice I want to give to those projects, and not be concerned with my obligations to another entity.
That's so good.
So it really, and as a person in the school, I had to be respectful of that, and I was, and of course I was professional. But when I stepped out of that role, then it sort of opened up space for me to write a book like this or work on different projects I want to do.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I know I was feeling it with you as you transitioned, but it honestly has been like the best decision. And knowing, when you get to that critical moment, that fork in the road, do I make that change is actually really important. And I think that's something that you can, I think we need to do a series with Mr. Patterson, but you could talk about what took place in that transition and how you knew it's actually the right decision without knowing fully what it was going to be like. So,
I just had to take a leap.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I've got here a little Rubik's Cube and never been able to crack this code. But I will tell you this. So I'm a bit sentimental, mental. This is the Rubik's Cube that I had in 8th grade.
Oh, wow.
I know, ancient of days. We're talking about 1981. And this got confiscated by my teacher because I was doing this under the table.
Are you kidding?
No, I'm not kidding. So it was confiscated, but I got it back.
Oh, you did?
And so Rubik's Cube, and I've never, it was just a matter of, there were no phones back then. Oh, yes, they were plugged into a wall at home in a common area where you had no privacy. But so when it comes to playing under I was like a naughty kid. I was nice, but I was naughty. And school for me was a social thing where you got together every day to work out what you would do on the weekend.
Right.
And I'm sorry, I'm a product of the 80s. Left school when I was 16 because I could, and a lot of us in those days actually left school with their what was called the leaving certificate in Australia. So it's 10th grade gone.
Really?
Yep. How did I produce the children I have? Is it miracles
happen? Right, happen. They happen every day.
Well, here's the thing too. So just speaking to some parents that maybe you have made some choices when you were younger and you don't know what to do with yourself now, it's not too late, is it? So
no, I don't think it's ever too late. A lot of what I see is we get nostalgic and we want our kids to have the same childhood we did. But, I mean, I wouldn't say these are a hot commodity right now. No offense, but they're just not. I mean, maybe a fidget spinner before they were banned.
But this is an antique.
It is.
Genuine antique.
You should put that on eBay. But we have to be cognizant of the current landmines for our kids, the current pressure, social media, technology, adulting too early. Is one of my big missions. Time goes so fast, anyways. Why do we need to speed it up and give life experiences too early? Whereas sort of college is the new high school in a lot of life experience and so on. And then high school is middle school, and we're in such a hurry all the time where we don't need to be. And
that's so true. And this word adulting, and some adults adult too late.
Right.
So you've got kids who are parenting parents because the parents are like, I now need to enjoy I didn't have it all in my childhood, so I'm going to go and have it now. And they're not thinking future. They're not playing the movie out. And so the repercussions of children that they've got parent figures, but the parents are not present or invested or involved. Right. Tell us a little bit about, your experience with that.
Well, I think, present parenting is a huge issue. You're in the home, right? So you're present, but are you actually present? And 10 out of 10 times, it's easier to fall into the trap of being the parent that wants to be liked, or the cool parent, or the good parent, or the nice parent, right? So we turn a blind eye, or we give too many chances, and we don't give structure. But teenagers don't see ambiguity very well. They don't deal with it well. I say that they don't see gray. They only see black and white. And so if you build a fence, they play in the yard. I don't mean smother them or helicopter them or any of that, but I just mean providing them with a framework where you are the parent and they are the child. And that gift doesn't pay a return right away because it's frustrating and it's exhausting and it's all of those things. But where it pays off, the return is when they're graduated from college, if they go to college or in their 20s, there's a shift that occurs. But what I see is that shift never occurs in the young teenagers who become young adults when there's not that structure and that scaffolding of expectation or experience with age. Not that age is a magic number, but maturity needs to come and unfold. And if we speed it up by giving it all away, you're going to parent for a lot longer, right? You're going to have a teenager a lot longer than the few years
Adult
that they
children.
would be. Right. Yeah, you know.
I do. Mine are awesome, and I've just had one graduate, and thank you for being at his graduation.
Yeah,
it meant a lot to him, because we don't have like extended family here. You know, when it comes to family life, you've got little ones.
I do, yeah.
So here you are writing a book on parenting,
right.
But it's from your experience that is way broader than your own household. So I love this. But you've got...
I have three. I have a 7-year-old daughter, a 3-year-old daughter, and a 7-month-old son, right? So I have no teenagers, but I've had thousands of teenagers,
exactly.
right? So this isn't really, and this isn't, I don't tell you how to parent in here. I give suggestions, you know, if this scenario is happening, try this. Or if you need to get across this bridge of time and this turmoil, try this. And it just, it is judgment-free-ish. I do finger wag a little bit, right? Especially with, you know, parent-sponsored drinking or substances of kids
Let's
in
talk
their
about
adolescence.
that article you wrote.
Oh, the free-range parenting?
Amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, that was my first article I wrote. In the
Where can we read it?
Well, it's on my website, pattersonperspective.com. It was originally and still is on the Huffington Post. And so I actually wrote that article when I was still a high school administrator. And it created quite the uproar. But,
like,
you know,
who
I was...
wrote this? And I'm like, wow. You were advocating, like, very thoroughly on behalf of actually the kids.
Yeah, I feel like the kids don't know any better. And I don't mean that in a rude way, but, you know, of course a kid is going to get hammered in their backyard if their parents let them, right? But the future damage that causes, what I say is that it sort of robs them of their coping skills, because if they feel like they have to take a deep dive into substance when they're happy to celebrate or when they're sad or, you know, bored, then they don't really learn how to experience those emotions
That are normal.
yeah, with a baseline. And adults can do what adults do, but we don't need a 14, 15, 16-year-old doing that, especially not at the hand of a parent that's delivering those things.
Yeah, and it happens a lot around here. So you've had to deal a lot with OC housewives.
Right.
Of which I'm one. But it's true.
Right.
I live in Orange County and I'm a housewife. Well, I work as well. But so what would you say would be some advice to mums specifically when it comes to kids and, you know, looking out for signs where there could be trouble brewing, but they've not seen it themselves? So, for instance, there was a child who took his own life recently at CDM, which is the school we're talking about, Corona Del Mar High, and from all that was written or was that this kid was an amazing kid, he was involved with sports, and that it wasn't seen like it was coming. So how do we look for those signs, because we want to see this like end?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not a clinician, I'm not a therapist or a psychologist, so in terms of those specific signs, I mean, having had a personal experience with losing a dear friend to suicide 2 years ago, I can tell you that I was completely blindsided, and I spent probably more time with him than most people, right? And we worked together for years, and we were very good friends. So I think with mental health, we want to intellectualize it. We want to be able to understand it, and we want to, you know, rewind the tape and look for signs. I don't know that in that particular case. In many cases, there are tangible signs, which is really the most heartbreaking, right? Because you'd do anything to help them if you could. Yeah. But in a more of a typical sense, right? On an average, every day, you know, your teenagers are just going through their teenage things. I think we get really hyper-focused on product, like your grades. I want your grades to be this. I want your grades to be that. Or you need to be home by this or home by that. But those are all just manifestations of an underlying unhappiness or underlying frustration. And teenagers are very good at getting their parents' attention without actually saying what it is that they want the attention for. So kids are pretty willing to share if you come at it from more of a conversational, pragmatic way rather than a I'm going to unload on you right now and you're grounded for your life and then some.
Yeah, the confrontation, it's like redirection
Right.
ahead of, you know.
Let's take this. This is the curfew violation, okay? And we can focus on the curfew violation all day long and just go around and around the hamster wheel, or we could move it over here and talk about the underlying issue and where
or why it's even there.
Yeah, or yeah, exactly. And why do we need a curfew, or why do I not want you to go smoke weed on the weekend, or whatever it is. I think the manifestations that we see through behavior are mostly just they're feeling frustrated. And in high performing areas, I think the kids feel frustrated because they don't see the world like everybody else. You know, maybe they don't want to have a 4.5 GPA, or they don't want to take AP everything, and they just want to pursue their passion. They want to pursue art. They want to become a tattoo artist. They want to do whatever they want to do. And when you,
my son.
Yeah, but and I think that's one of the things about him is that he's found his way, but he wasn't going to find his way being in the same box as everybody else.
Yeah, it's really true. And you know, especially too, if you've got multiple children, they're all going to be very different. I hope they're different. Otherwise, it's a little bit the Waltons,
right? Yeah.
But even they were different, actually. All the Brady Bunch, all those kids. So, I really appreciate that you have encouraged in Bo what's in Bo.
Right.
And you know, he's definitely creative, and he has just graduated with a degree in business finance and emphasis on real estate law. And what is the other thing? I don't know. I left school in 10th grade. Oh, graphics. And what does he want to do with all of that education? He wants to be a tattoo artist and one of the best. And I'm like, okay, you go, son.
He's good.
That's
He's
your
very
deal.
Talented.
And unfortunately, he reminds me a lot of me, which means I feel sorry for him. No, I think he's awesome. He's not a cubicle kid. And this is the thing. With a book like this, it's going to help us understand, like you said, it's not telling you how to raise your kids, but I want to understand my kids more and more. And as they get older and they find their life's partner and they start having children, I want to be like a fully supportive grandma. And, you know, making sure that we, even if we've messed up before now, let's just choose as parents to, you know, start again and move our future forward so that our kids know that we're there for them in the right way. I did call my friend, one of my besties in Australia, after I was accused of being a helicopter parent. I said, are we helicopter? Because her and I, we parent the same. And I said, are we helicopter parents? And she said, well, close. And I said, hey, help me, because if I need a slap, like, stop it. But she said, helicopter parents don't let their kids go. Right. They actually manipulate them into attachment that means they don't send them to college.
Right.
And I've seen it. And they control the fact that they are the only financial source, or they do all sorts of weird things. Now, I've got to say, good news is I'm not a helicopter parent by definition, but I am invested and interested, and it's never too late. So if you are thinking now that your kid has kind of maybe slipped away a bit, just get re-involved.
Right.
Make it a conversation, not a confrontation.
Yeah, and I think, and that's one of the reasons that I did name this book The Assertive Parent, because what I felt is, you know, we do want to put parents in boxes and say, you're a helicopter parent, you're a free-range parent, you're an absentee parent, you know, you're a good parent, bad parent.
What's a free range? Oh, is that the...
Yeah, where they just, you know, let them do whatever they want to do.
Not this one, no.
But this book is just asking you to be an assertive parent and do what's best for your child and in your life's reality. But everybody is responsible for 100% of their involvement in any situation. So this requires a lot of self-reflection, which could make readers uncomfortable because I'm asking them to reflect on their own relationship with social media, their own relationship with their past education, or their own relationship with their own parents, right? Because all of those factors layer into the way that we parent. I mean, when I parent, I find myself either doing something totally in line with how my parents parented me, because I'm like, yes, this is great, this is what they did, or in complete opposition to it, right? But that awareness makes you more, I guess, makes it easier to navigate how you're going to parent if you know why you're doing it. So you got to peel back the layers a little bit.
Totally. And if you have, you know, if you've had great parents, it's like, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Because sometimes we can be like, I'm just going to do it all different because we were rebellious ourselves. But I found myself teaching like my kids how to do laundry like my grandma taught me. I'm like, these things are good. And there are other things that I'm like, oh no, these are not going down.
Right.
From generation to generation. Anyway, look, I really appreciate your time today.
Absolutely.
And I would love to do like a mini series because there's a lot involved in this. And those of you who are mums, I am asked a lot of questions and I don't have all the answers. But I do love to hear from people that have experience and wisdom and a different perspective because, there you go, Patterson perspective.
Right, that's right.
It's just good to have somebody that can like help us see because blind spots are real and it means that we just need a different light shed. So thanks for being with us today.
Absolutely, thanks for having me.
And we'll definitely have this one back. Have a great week. See ya.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for joining us today on the Sisterhood Leadership Podcast with Dianne Wilson, recorded live from Orange County, California. If you'd like to subscribe, click on the link below, diannewilson.com, and we'll see you next week.